Hello to all of you joining us from across the globe and to those of you present with us here in Vienna for TourRadar's second annual Adventure Together event. Our theme for this year is, Now What? Something that's more pertinent than ever following the roller coaster of emotions over the last couple of years.
But before we get to the now what, let's start with the here and now. My name is Caitlin Duggan, and this is Brendan Roberts, and we're part of the business development team at TourRadar. We'll be guiding you through the sessions over the next 2 days and are delighted to see over 2,000 of you online, as well as all of you here for the first in-person event at TourRadar.
Regardless of whether you're online or here with us in Vienna, there are some event sponsors that we'd love to acknowledge for their contributions to ensure that we can make the event the best that it can be. Our premium operator partner, the Globus family of brands, our insurance partner, Cover Genius, and the wonderful folks at the Good Coffee Society in Vienna are ensuring that those here in person will have a great time through a number of sponsored events and dedicated coffee stations throughout the venue.
But there's also plenty of opportunities for our online guests as well, with a string of prizes that are up for grabs through the registration and participation of the online event platform. A massive thank you to Air Canada and our operator partners, Explore, Travel Talk, and Syconia Travel. In fact, one of the prizes has already been won. Steph Lee, founder from Host Agency Reviews, won the Early Bird Registration Prize, which was flight tickets from Air Canada.
But we still have 3 major touring prizes to give away, with 3 different tours sponsored by our operators, Travel Talk, Explore, and Syconia Travel, which will be given away to the attendees who gather the most points during the event. To find out more about the gamification process, just click on the Engage and Win tab in the event menu. Winners will be announced on day 2.
We have a wonderful lineup of speakers to entertain, enlighten, and educate you over the next 2 days. So here's a couple of pointers to help get you through the event. Note that sometimes there are 2 sessions that we have at the same time. The online guests, you'll be prompted for which session you want to join, and here with us in person, you choose between the 2 presentation rooms.
There will also be 1 main break for 30 minutes for networking, where you can connect with other attendees. Both online and offline opportunities are available. Online attendees will receive a notification on their screen.
When you're looking at the agenda, use the colored tags, and then I think now, let's just get to the main event. That brings us to TourRadar's co-founder and CEO, Travis Pittman, who introduced the Adventure Booking Platform. He outlined the vision of how the TourRadar team can continue to evolve our offerings to support all levels of the organized adventure booking journey to travelers and partners alike. All this to achieve our vision of connecting people to life-enriching travel experiences.
That begs the obvious question, now what? Let's pass it over to Travis to find out.
Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, Caitlin. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to Adventure Together. When preparing for this keynote and reflecting on what we've all been through, both individually and collectively as an industry, I stumbled across this scene from the Finding Nemo film, which I thought summed up things pretty well. Now what? Basically, since March 2020, we've been powering through pure adrenaline, pure fear, getting through this crisis, trying to get out the other side to survive and hope that travel would rebound at some stage. For many of you, 2022 has proven to be the rebound that you'd hoped for, and passenger levels and bookings are up over 2019 levels. On the surface, that's a massive win, considering the deep hole that we've been in for the last couple of years. However, it was a conversation with a tour operator at the recent Adventure Travel World Summit in Switzerland, where it summed up the toll that the crisis has actually taken on all of us. The operator basically said, I've had the best year I've had ever, but it feels like every dollar of income that I've earned has been 3 to 4 times the effort to bring that dollar in. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Whether you're an airline, an OTA, a travel operator, a travel advisor, a destination, or a service provider. It's been tough winding up a machine that has literally been standing still for 2.5 years. But as the saying goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And we believe it's time to take a deep breath and break down the silos and the plastic bags and open ourselves up for collaboration to take this industry forward in ways that we couldn't do in our own bubbles. So now what? Do we sit back, bask in the glory of the recent successes? No. We've just pulled this industry off of life support, and this next year is about laying the foundation for a more innovative, resilient, and sustainable path forward. This foundation has to include looking after our own personal and mental health, fortifying our financial stability, motivating travelers to travel in a much more sustainable way, and leveraging technology to make us more efficient and more effective in how we run our businesses. This is the second event we've held. The first one was 100% virtual, and I'm so happy that this is a hybrid, and we've got the thousands of people dialing in online, and of course, this highly influential group of people here in Vienna with us. And I think we can all agree Vienna's certainly turned on the weather. Everyone's bought their jackets, thinking that it's going to be nice and cold, but it's actually nice and warm. So it's great to have you here, and the TourRadar team are pumped to show you around and give you what the best that Vienna has to offer. We're already dreaming about this event really becoming a must-attend event for all stakeholders in the multi-day tour industry. The purpose of Adventure Together is pretty simple. There wasn't a single conference or event dedicated to multi-day tours with a focus on technology. To highlight what I mean, we've got a bunch of operators and travel advisors. Sorry. That's a bit. All right. Tyler, who run river cruising, coach touring, small group adventure, and hardcore adventure. We literally have the full spectrum of operators and travel advisors here with us today. We felt there was a gap, and so we created it ourselves and actually wanted to create something that could bring the whole industry collectively together. So thank you for taking the time, both online and also here in Vienna. I truly hope that we can give you 1 or 2 gold nuggets that you can take away and will help shape your business in the next 12 months. At our last event, I proudly launched our adventure booking platform. And this year, my keynote's going to focus on 2 areas. First of all, a bit more context about how TourRadar's journey evolved and what's led us to here today, some progress on the ecosystem over the last 12 months, and how we see the ecosystem evolving over the next 12 months. I also want to share my 3 predictions for 2023 for the multi-day tour industry and what I think is going to be front and center. Since TourRadar launched, we've had 100 million visits by travelers to our platform. We've had 25 million messages sent between operators, customers, and our CS team. We've had $500 million of bookings flow through the platform. And we've had 4 million days of adventure experienced by our travelers. I think you all know we're pretty ambitious here at TourRadar, and we think there's a lot of room to grow in this industry. So I hope in the not too distant future, I'll be standing on a stage like this, hopefully a little bit bigger, and you'll be seeing numbers like this: 10 billion visits, 250 million messages, 50 billion in bookings, and 40 million days of adventure. Obviously, success didn't happen overnight, and it was a ton of tiny technology changes and business model changes over the years. But there was actually 3 pivotal moments that I'd like to share with you today. In 2014, we launched our TourRadar online travel agency, where we transitioned from a meta search and lead gen model to actually taking the bookings and being the merchant of record on our site. As we found out, it was a pretty tough change to go and actually take those bookings for a high-value, multi-day product that people don't book every day and traditionally had booked through offline channels. But we needed to do this. It was a step change that was difficult, but had to be done for us to continue on our path to get to where we are today. I'm actually proud that there's a number of operators in this room today who actually were there and took a leap of faith in the very beginning to say, let's do it. I don't believe what you're doing, but I'll come along because I think it's actually something that could be quite cool. So really happy to have you here, and Sean and I still remember those meetings very vividly, and very happy to have you all still here today. In 2017, one of our earliest investors, Eric Blatchford, advised us to really push hard on scaling the supply side of our marketplace. And we onboarded some 2,500 tour operators and DMCs, where we gave them the reach, the communication, and the ability to sell to the customers visiting TourRadar that we'd acquired primarily through SEO, paid marketing, and email marketing. And then we fast forward to 2021, and we realized that the tech and the supply base that we'd built for our own marketplace could be valuable to other stakeholders in the ecosystem, such as GDSs, OTAs, travel advisors, travel agencies, and destinations. And so we launched the Adventure Booking platform and began building technology solutions such as APIs, white label, affiliate programs, and much, much more, as well as a global distribution network. So I briefly want to touch on travel advisors. We know that a large number of travelers still use advisors to book their travel, and actually a lot to book multi-day tours. And why not? Travelers get great service, all the ancillaries are arranged, and we actually had noticed that travel agents and advisors were using TourRadar, the actual marketplace, to search and book for their clients, even before we had a dedicated platform. We also had requests from some host agencies and some consortia, and we realized that we needed to build as much flexibility into our technology and our commercial solutions to make sure that business could work and flow between all parties in the ecosystem. So now what in 2022? We've been busy, like most of you, ramping up operationally as the travel vengeance hit us, but our team continued to innovate, and we've built out industry-first solutions, products, and partnerships. And so I'm happy to say, since our last event, we've rolled out our Flight Center API, in the first phase going live about 6 weeks ago, and the next phase going live in the next few months. We launched our agent marketplace, meaning any agent in the world could sign up and actually sell any of the 50,000 adventures and earn a commission on those. We've had 3,500 agents sign up from all over the globe. And we know commission is very important to travel advisors, and we also know the tour operators want to finish the year strong. So we've upped the commission from up to 8% to actually being up to 12% for the rest of this year, to hopefully give a nice push and drive some bookings coming through. We also launched our affiliate program, and we've had the white label solution go live with partners like Last Minute. For those who remember, I signed the Glasgow Declaration at the last event, and we've been busy. We've hired Sophia, and we've been working alongside Travel Foundation, eCollective, and Travelist to work out how do we leverage our place in the center of the ecosystem to drive sustainability initiatives across the industry. We also want to create a community around these shared goals and promote what partners are doing, because there's some really great stuff out there, and also share our network and the data that we're collecting at TourRadar. Also, by 2030, we want that all active operators in our adventure booking platform will have sustainability initiatives in place. So in summer this year, I actually took a private mountain bike tour in South Tyrol, so in the Dolomites, and I have to say it was one of the best experiences I've ever had. It could have been biased because it was the first organized adventure I took since the pandemic actually hit. But for me, it really reinforced the many reasons why an organized adventure is actually one of the best ways to travel. We started in South Tyrol, went to Lake Garda, did about 9,000 meters of altitude, and the spectacular trails, nature, landscape, as you can see here, was some of the best I've experienced. But it was actually, the thing that stood out was how valuable the guide was, and them organizing the entire thing, taking care of all the logistics, any problems that arose, speaking the local language, recommending to us amazing local food, and planning out our daily activities. We didn't get lost once. I didn't have to think about it. We just had the most immersive, amazing experience that could possibly be on offer. Our industry has suffered a bit of an image problem that has been pretty difficult to shake. Unfortunately, when people hear the word tour, they think of this. My point of view, we need to reframe this and get people understanding what we are selling. With the tailwinds of a post-pandemic change in the mindset of the general population around outdoors, nature, being active, cultural exchange through travel, there's never been a better time for our industry to shine. We just need to communicate it better. As you can see here, the naming of our products, the travel styles, there are so many names amongst what we do. It's all needed, it's just a lot. And it's pretty confusing for an outside consumer. So to wrap up and encompass our diverse industry, so we can market and educate the everyday consumer about what we do, at TourRadar, we've settled on the term organized adventure as a way forward with repositioning what we actually do to consumers. Organizing a multi-day trip is hard. Most people want to get outside their comfort zone, but they just don't know how, and they end up giving up. An organized adventure is where you have everything organized for you in a multi-day travel experience where you literally just have to pick it and go. I could go on forever about the benefits and all the different things, but I'd like to show a 2-minute video now of how we'd like to reposition organized adventures.
Bitter, sweet, freezer, burn, deafening silence, jumbo shrimp. These are oxymorons, 2 words that seemingly don't fit but perfectly describe something. Now here's another, organized adventure. What's that, you ask? An organized travel adventure is where you have everything you could possibly want to enjoy in a multi-day travel experience set up for you, and all you have to do is choose and go. All waiting for you on TourRadar, the adventure booking platform. Choose from the biggest selection of organized adventures worldwide, delivered by incredible local experts. 2,500 trusted and rated operators, 50,000 adventures of all kinds, 160 countries around the world. Group adventures, private adventures, tailor-made adventures, any style, virtually anywhere you want to go. TourRadar makes it easy, whether you book for yourself or your travel advisor does. It all gets handled right online through TourRadar. Pick your spots, chat with the adventure operators, pack and go. Your operators will have everything ready for you when you arrive. All you need to do is be there, and you never have to worry. TourRadar offers 24/7 customer service, flexible booking options, the ability to pay easily and securely online, and extensive insurance options in case your plans change. Plus, our best price guarantee makes sure you always get the latest deal. Multi-day organized adventures are the best way to enjoy travel, to experience the depths, the heights, the hops, the tastes, the turns, the fabrics, the feels, the rapids, the pools, the people, the critters, the bold cabs, the big 5, the bright northern lights, and the thumping bass beats. Adventure begins here on TourRadar.
Cool. I'd like to now revisit the ecosystem that I presented at last year's event. This is still as relevant as it was a year ago, But in a recent leadership team offsite, we had somewhat of an aha moment of who should be sitting in the center of this ecosystem. And it wasn't TourRadar and our adventure booking platform. Without our tour operators and our DMCs, the ecosystem simply wouldn't exist. And when we looked at the tools that we'd built for our distribution partners in the last year, we realized that this suite of tools can and should be used to grow bookings and create efficiencies for all of our operator partners, no matter if they're big or small. Reducing friction, increasing efficiency in any marketplace is the key to getting liquidity going between buyers and sellers. At TourRadar, we've been building the technology to improve both of those, and we've found, most importantly, the best way to reduce friction in the multi-day tour industry has been through innovations such as live availability and real-time pricing, instant bookability, powerful search, discovery, and filtering, social proof through reviews, messaging, seamlessly integrated ancillaries like travel insurance, and trusted local payments. From our conversations with operator partners, we've seen and heard about the patchwork of technology solutions you've been stitching together to run and digitally transform your businesses. Well, here's a sneak peek of our roadmap for our tour operators in 2023. Your own dedicated online portal for any travel advisor you already work with to seamlessly search, check availability, and book your products online. Your own web shop with the same world-class UX and payment technology that we use in our own TourRadar marketplace. Your own API to give to your technology-savvy distribution partners. And plus much, much more that will simplify and amplify the channels you use to sell your products. Now let's dive into my 3 predictions for 2023 and what I think will be front and center for our industry as we move forward. Trust, payments, and financial technology to be more important and top of mind than ever. Data-driven storytelling to highlight and drive community impact and sustainability, and digital distribution tooling comes of age. Now, first of all, with the rapid convergence of technology, finance, and global online commerce, certain verticals have actually been quicker to adapt than others. And I have to say that companies like Hopper, with their innovative fintech solutions, have built out an amazing niche in the airline and hotel space. However, with the increased complexity of a multi-day tour, it's actually been much, much harder and much, much slower to actually roll out these type of solutions for our industry. But I'm happy to say we've actually made some really good progress on how this is going. With the insolvencies of certain travel agencies and tour operators, it's actually highlighted the nebulous nature of how customer payments and supplier payments are actually managed and made throughout the industry. In some areas of the world, there's bonding associations that protect customers. But the harsh reality is that unless you're actually a resident of the same country where that association is based, it's highly unlikely you'll be eligible for that consumer protection. And so that thinking of having customers only from one area of the world in today's world of global citizens and borderless technology to book their travel is really quite outdated. And we believe there's a much better way of operating, and there's a huge opportunity to overhaul and bring a fresh new approach for transparency for how payments are made and remitted globally. Secondly, data-driven storytelling. Over-tourism, sustainability, financial, environmental, and social impact are all terms we've heard a lot more since the pandemic hit, which is actually a good thing. And growth at all costs, it's a mantra that really doesn't fly anymore. As we thought through our place in the ecosystem and how best to contribute to solving possibly one of the hardest problems our societies have to solve in our lifetime, these are the takeaways that we've come out there's a huge gap between the intent of travelers and of them taking action when it comes to sustainability. There needs to be qualitative and quantitative understanding of the impact that travelers' decisions are having on destinations, the environment, and on local communities they're visiting. And quantifying these impacts for organized adventures, it's not easy, but we have to do it. Organized adventures inherently are a style of travel that are active, visit multiple locations, destinations, and involve nature. And it was recently at the Adventure Travel World Summit that Edmund Morris, the founder of Equator Analytics, gave a brilliant presentation of how data can be used to tell powerful stories that are easy to understand and close that intention to action gap. And it's really important how we spread out travelers and use dispersal where the infrastructure exists for those travelers to go. We've seen this play out badly in places like Venice, many European beach destinations, and even Mount Everest. And a recent stat that we dug out when we were starting to look at our sustainability initiatives is that 50% of our bookings actually go to developing countries. I'd actually love to know what that is for Booking, Airbnb, and Expedia. This here is a visualization of all the travelers that have ever traveled on TourRadar, showing the density of where people have booked the most. Obviously, Europe is one of the highest density, but you can see we pretty much cover the entire world. And this one is another visualization from our data showing literally today how many TourRadar travelers are traveling and visiting different countries around the world. There's a massive opportunity for us to work with destinations, to tour operators, travel advisors, as well as travel associations to come together and actually quantify the good and the bad impacts of the adventures we offer and use data to tell better stories and ultimately change the behaviors of travelers for the better. Tomorrow, we've actually created a round table with the best industry experts locally here in Vienna, and I'm super excited to see what we actually get out of that session. Final prediction. Before I jump in, I do want to acknowledge that there are actually quite a lot of operators out there who are not wanting more growth and scale than they're currently doing. And I absolutely get this. This philosophy is even more relevant today than ever. But when I talk about digital distribution and tooling, I'm not just talking about growth and scale. In many cases, it's about streamlining, automating, and making you and your customers' lives a little bit easier. The less time you and your customers spend in Word documents, Excel, email, or on the phone, the better. None of us want to lose that personal touch and the relationships that we have in this industry, but business profitability and growth dramatically improve when self-service technology is introduced in areas that really don't need humans. Here are some examples of how we see it, where viewing availability and pricing instantly online versus picking up the phone and calling an operator and sitting on hold for 30 minutes. Traveler and agent invoices automatically created versus manually creating a Word document or an Excel sheet and sending an invoice when you get the time. And finally, customers inputting their credit card details safely online versus taking a credit card number over the phone, storing it insecurely, and manually inputting it to multiple systems. And these efficiencies are everywhere, including even us at TourRadar. This year, we surpassed our 2019 revenue levels, but did it with 65% of the team and an employee NPS score of 78 and a customer NPS score of 71. And I can confidently say this has only been possible through the technology and the automation that we built and implemented during the pandemic that we've now democratized and want to bring to all of the stakeholders in our ecosystem. In the next 2 days, I hope as an operator, a travel advisor, or someone simply interested in this space, that you'll find value in the variety of topics and experts that we've assembled here. We'll take a deep dive into technology, sustainability, marketing, sales, operations, diversity. And at the beginning of each and every session, we'll ask the question, now what? Together, we'll attempt to answer this fundamental question, and by doing so, we can only get better at what we do. The world that exited the pandemic is very different to the one that went in. And I believe now more than ever, customers will seek out organized adventures, so much so that in the near future, our product will be in the same consideration set as vacation rentals, all-inclusive resorts, ocean cruising, and why not? In most cases, they provide a deeper connection to the people and places visited, are more sustainable, and ultimately provide a more profound and meaningful experience. Thank you.